Hello. So I'm not really sure what this is going to be, but I'm just going to kind of start at the beginning and explain what's happening here, what I plan on doing, and what I hope will happen. So this plant that you see right here is called a ruby slipper or Echeveria harmsii, I believe. Um, Now, mine have gotten quite lanky and tall, and I use chopsticks to kind of prop them up. You can see if I don't have the chopsticks supporting them, they're a little bit more on the flimsy side, which, it's okay. I don't love the way that they look, so I'm kind of going to experiment and see if I can do something a little bit different with them. Now, I don't know if this is possible with ruby slippers, but there are succulents that are pruned or kind of shaped into more of an arboreal fashion, so more tree-like. So I want to see if that's possible. If not, I think there's kind of two results that'll happen here. So I'm gonna plan on taking a top cutting, maybe like here on each of them, propagating the top half, and then leaving the stem to see if new rosettes form. If not, it's fine because I think the other option ultimately would be that the plant would just push all of its energy down to the base. And you can see I already have some kind of like pups that are offsetting and shooting up here. So either way, I'm not really risking a lot. So I think my course of action is going to be kind of pruning somewhere around here on both of them. Then I'm going to take all the pads below that point and I'm going to propagate those in a little bit of soil here. And then I think the tops I'm gonna put into their own pot and try to just kind of get them to produce roots and just grow those two as like their own individual plants. So let's see. I'm gonna start the pruning now, I think. Let's see. What's the best way I could go about doing this? I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off all of the mature pads. So all these kind of like bigger ones down here at the bottom, because they're gonna come off anyway. And then I'm going to decide where on the stem I want to make my cut. So I'm going to start by plucking off all those pads. Now, your chance of getting the pads to propagate is kind of based on how much of the base of the plant or the base of the stem is intact. So when you break it off, people recommend you do kind of like a twisting motion like this, like back and forth. And you want to make sure that this is like a flush kind of breaking point to the stem. If there's like a cut that goes through it, or if you don't break off the whole piece in one go, it's probably not going to propagate. You could still try, but your chances of it being successful are going to go down. I also believe that the more mature a stem is, like once they get to like old age and they start like wilting and the plant starts kind of taking water away from that leaf. Oop, see, because I broke this one, so this one's not going to propagate. Once the plant starts kind of drawing water out of the leaf, its chances of propagating also kind of go down at that point. So that's something to keep in mind too. Oh, I broke that one too. That's okay, I'm getting a decent amount of usable ones here. I don't know why these ones towards the top seem to be so delicate. Just a few more on this one. Didn't get a good break on that one either. Now you may have noticed this little branch here. This actually, both of them have one. Here, let me move these chopsticks. The little side branches there actually came from when my plant flowered. I have a picture of it, I might insert it here. But both the plants flowered at like nearly the same spot. They're basically clones of each other. And at one point they were going exactly the same direction. I decided to mirror, like to flip one of them. So that way they're kind of growing opposite each other because I thought that just looked better. But that's kind of the reason why you see these branches here and here. I'm gonna leave this one like that for now. I'm gonna start working on this one. Oh man. Not getting the best breaks here. Some of these are definitely going to be duds. There's no avoiding it. There we go. That one came off easy. See, I don't think the twisting motion is the best motion. I kind of like a back and forth motion. That seems to be working good. Just left and right. There we go. That one came off easy. Right. Now what to do with the little branches? I don't know. Because I think if I were to cut them off, they probably wouldn't produce anything. This one's pretty much dried up. I'm gonna just snap this one off. Oh, it doesn't want to snap. Here, I'm gonna prune that off. I don't think that one was ever going to produce anything new. Kind of looks like this one was dying off as well. I'm just gonna cut off both those branches. All right, now we have really tall palm trees. Looks great. So I want to maintain some height if it does end up being kind of more of the arboreal style. The thing is, I'm looking at the stem here. Down here at the base, it's actually smaller on both of them. It's more of this like silvery color. And then around where their branches shot out, you can kind of see this kind of green color and it got thicker. I'm not sure how much of this I want to keep and how much of, I mean, that's the base, so I kind of have to keep it if I'm going for more of the tree style. I do want to have enough of the stem for me to be able to insert it into the soil. So maybe like here, I know that seems kind of long, but each of these little places where the leaves used to be could produce stems. They're called nodes. So, or not stems, they could produce roots. So I think its chances of rooting and being successful are kind of increased by how much of the stem you kind of take with it. I don't know, this is tough. I'm gonna look at this for a little second. I haven't really even picked out a pot that I'm gonna put them in. Let me see if I can find one. I think this may have been the original pot that they came in. I'll have to go back and look, but I may end up putting them in this pot. Would they fit? That would be a little on the tight side. 'Cause mean, that one's even smaller. Yeah, I don't know if I'd go for that one. This pot looks kind of gross though. The paint is all chipping off of it. I don't know. Let's go with this one for now. I mean, there's no harm. So I'm going to prune these now. Let's see. It's kind of interesting now all the weight is taken off of them. They are standing up more straight and sturdy at this point. I don't know. This is a tough decision. It's a tough decision. Where am I going to chop them? I think, because the soil, unfortunately, because the leaves hang down, the soil might be, like, the soil line might be like here. So I want to give them a decent amount of stem in the soil. Maybe I'm gonna do it right there. Oop. There we go. I overestimated the sharpness of my shears. Okay, I'm gonna make sure this is like a clean cut. I don't know if that's any better. I think that's a little bit better. Okay. I don't know if I'm gonna try it, but I think some people online say that using cinnamon to kind of stop fungal growth is a good way of making sure. Now, the question is, do I make them symmetrical again or do I make them asymmetrical? I mean, I only have two, so I might as well go for symmetry. This is tough. I go here because I can always take more off. There we go. All right. We made some big moves here today. Let's hope that this is successful. I mean, if it's not, that's okay. I didn't love the way that they were looking, so any change is going to be welcome, I suppose. I mean, the reason why I feel so secure in doing this, like, I wouldn't recommend doing this to a very young plant. The reason why I feel fine making these big changes is because the roots in this pot are pretty much already filling the whole thing. So the root system is very secure. The plant has lots of energy and vigor, so it's going to be able to bounce back. I don't think this is really going to be the death of the plant. Also, these pups are here. So even though the bulk of like the old mature plant's gone, these little plants have a ton of roots. So they're going to survive even if this kind of top cutting is not successful. So that's why I don't really feel that bad about it. Another thing to keep in mind too is, like, this is actually something I believe they do in bonsaiing, like in traditional bonsai, where you cut back a lot of the young growth, and that encourages the plant to focus back on the old stem and make it sturdier. My plants were very floppy, but now that I cut the entire top off, if they do start producing stuff at the top, it's going to have a much sturdier stem in proportion to how light the new growth is going to be. So hopefully that makes a stronger, healthier, and better looking plant. Regardless, I'm going to be potting up these, and I'm going to be setting up my propagation little tray. So I'll show you that in 1 second. Okay, so if you are a maniac like I am and you're planning on massacring your plant and doing this, there's a few things to keep in mind. One, there's no significance to the way that I arranged my leaves in this kind of propagation tray. But you should, if you're going to do something like this, you should let your leaves or your pads kind of callus for like a day or two before you give them any water, because that kind of just decreases the chance of them molding. Now, or rotting. There's not 100% guarantee that every single one of these leaves is going to propagate, but if you have a good amount like I do here, you're probably going to get like a decent amount propagating. There might be like 5 out of this bunch that don't, or maybe more. I don't really know what my odds are going to be. This is my first time doing it with Echeveria, but we're going to see how successful it is. Once you do feel like your leaves have calloused, you just got to spritz it every once in a while. Spritz this dirt. This is a very shallow thing. This is actually a drip tray, so it just needs a little bit of moisture to encourage the root growth. You can start spritzing right away if you want to, but having them callous just kind of increases their chances and encourages them not to rot. But either way, you know, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. But this is what I have. So I think it looks pretty cool. Hopefully I get some successful propagations. If not, that's fine. I already have like way more Echeveria than I ever want. Maybe I'll give them away to some people. So next, you can see off in the corner, I have my little cuttings. Next, I'm going to pot those up. So I'll be right back once I've done that. Okay, I'm back. So I put some soil in this pot. Now I should say, just like with the pads that I put in the propagation tray, it is a good idea to let this stem kind of callus before putting in the soil and before watering. But I'm a little bit impatient, so I'm just gonna make sure, again, that this is a really clean cut, as clean as I can make it. If I had like maybe I could use like an X-Acto knife. If you have like a really sharp blade or a razor, that helps. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do much better with this. Oh, you know what, that was good. So that's a much cleaner cut, so that's gonna be good. And there's nothing really fancy about this. You literally just stick it in the soil. I like to make a little bit of a hole and kind of position them and figure out where I'm gonna place them before I put them both in. So I'm gonna do that in 1 second. I'm actually gonna clean up the cut on this one as well with my X-Acto blade here. All right, that's a nice clean cut. Now, people like plant experts online are probably going to tell you to use like something to sanitize your blades, like your X-Acto knives and your shears, and that's good, especially if you are doing a lot of pruning at the same time, because you don't want to transfer diseases from one plant to another. I didn't do that, but it probably is the smart thing to do. So I'm going to try and see if I can get these in here. So use my chopstick to make a little hole. Put one like here and one here. I don't know if those are going to end up being too close together. This pot might end up being a little bit too small. We'll see how it goes. I think it is a little bit too small. I could put them closer to the edges, but then I'll have to repot them sooner. Here, let me see what that looks like. Now, they are pretty tight in the pot here, but I'm kind of okay with that. I think sometimes if you give a plant too big of a pot and you water it pretty frequently, which when it comes to plants like these, like succulents, you only really have to water them once every other week, maybe. Some people say once every 3 weeks. I think maybe in winter you can go less. In summer you want to go a little bit more just because it's a bit warmer. They kind of lose water faster. But I'm kind of okay with putting them in kind of a smaller pot. If I do have to repot them, that's fine. I have another pot that's a bit bigger that's ready to go. But I just think that putting them in the smaller pot maybe makes them a little bit easier to manage, a little bit easier to fit with my other plants, maybe a little bit less likely to rot. So I'm okay with it. I think I like the way it looks, so I think that's that. One other thing to mention before I go, I don't know if this is the end here, is that it's okay to throw some of these out. These are a lot of the ones that had like broken tips I don't think are going to propagate. Some of the ones that just didn't fit in the propagation tray. It's okay not to save every single one, especially if you think that there's no chance that they're going to survive. There's no point like trying to work on something if you know it's just gonna rot. So just to finish up, you can see here I have my top cuttings. Hopefully those do well. I have pretty good faith that these are gonna do a good job. This is my little experiment. So this one here, I'm very curious to see how this turns out. Let me know in the comments what you think is going to happen. I think that the two kind of things I think is, one, these might just dry up and die back and nothing is going to grow on them and all the growth is just going to happen at the bottom. Or this is the one that I think might be a bit of a cooler option. Maybe some rosettes are going to start popping up along the sides here, maybe one on the top, and you're gonna see more like branching patterns. I don't know. I hope it does something cool because that would be awesome, but if not, that's fine. And then I also have my propagation tray. So I think it was pretty cool. You can see all three little projects I have going on here. Hopefully they're successful. Succulents are nice. There's a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of wiggle room, a lot of leeway. There's a lot of insurance to them because, like, if the top cuttings don't work, these are going to work. If the propagations don't work, you know, there's a lot of things going on. So even though I made a pretty big move on these old plants here, I have a lot of different kind of things in motion here. So it's not like I'm risking completely losing my Echeverias. So hopefully, I don't know, you learned something, maybe inspired you to massacre one of your plants at home. Otherwise, I don't know, if you think it's a terrible idea, let me know in the comments. If you like what I've done here and want to see an update, let me know in the comments. But that is all. Thank you. Remember to like and subscribe. And peace out.